Hello everyone and welcome to English Story Learning Hub. Before we begin, make sure to like, comment and subscribe so you never miss our inspiring English learning stories. Today we bring you a powerful and heartwarming tale. A story that teaches us about discovering our true strengths, practicing with dedication and understanding that everyone has their own unique talents. Not only will this story inspire you, but it will also help you learn English naturally through simple vocabulary and meaningful sentences. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the journey as we dive into today's lesson-filled story. Once, in a calm and peaceful little town, there lived a small family tucked away in a quiet corner of the city. In this family lived a 12-year-old boy named David, a cheerful 6th grader. David was full of energy and loved spending time outdoors. His favorite activity, something he could never get tired of, was playing soccer. Almost every single day, David would rush to the nearby public field to practice and sharpen his soccer skills. One afternoon, after returning home from school, David dropped himself onto the couch. But today, something was different. Instead of his usual bright smile, he looked thoughtful and unusually quiet. He opened one of his school books, stared at a page for a moment, and then sank back into the soft cushions with a disappointed expression on his face. Just then, his father walked in from the backyard. He noticed David's unusual behavior immediately. Concerned, he stepped closer, gently sat beside him, and prepared to find out what was troubling his son. Sitting down beside David, his father gently asked what was bothering him. David hesitated for a moment and then explained that he had received a poor grade in math. But that wasn't the real reason he felt upset. What truly hurt him was that his close friend and neighbor, Matt, always achieved high marks in math. No matter how much effort David put in, he felt he could never reach the same level, and this left him discouraged. Hearing this, David's father quietly stood up and brought him a glass of water, hoping it would help calm his son. After David took a sip and relaxed a little, his father led him outside into their small backyard garden. The garden was filled with shady trees, soft rustling leaves, and a peaceful silence that made it the perfect place for important conversations. David, his father began gently, I want you to understand 3 important lessons from what happened today. These lessons, he continued, will guide you throughout your life as you grow older. David, who always respected his father's wisdom, felt slightly confused but also curious. Can you explain those lessons, Dad? He asked with sincere interest. You will learn each lesson, his father replied with a warm smile, one by one, through a small challenge I am about to give you. After a short pause, his father continued. For the first lesson, he said thoughtfully, I want you to invite Matt to play soccer with you tomorrow. David agreed immediately, eager to discover what lesson his father was trying to teach. The next morning arrived with bright sunshine and a cheerful breeze. David went to school with his usual excitement, wondering how the day would unfold. That afternoon, after classes ended, David asked Matt if he wanted to join him for a soccer game at the nearby field. Matt happily agreed. Once the match began, David, who practiced almost every single day, took the lead. His movements were confident, quick, and skillful. He scored 3 impressive goals, guiding his team to a strong and clear victory. Matt, however, struggled throughout the game. Since he didn't play soccer very often, he kept losing the ball, missed several passes, and made a few clumsy mistakes. But despite the differences in skill, everyone enjoyed the match, laughed together, and had a wonderful time. Later that evening, after washing up, David rushed to the backyard to meet his father. Dad, I played soccer with Matt today. So, what's the first lesson you want to teach me? His father smiled knowingly. Well, first tell me how the game went. David explained everything, from the 3 goals he scored to how Matt wasn't very good at soccer. His father listened patiently, nodding as David spoke. Then he said, Look at this, David. Matt may not be great at soccer, but he's excellent at math. Just like you sometimes struggle with math and shine in soccer, Matt is the opposite. We're all different, and that's perfectly okay. Each of us has our own strengths, our own interests, and our own talents. David felt a warm wave of understanding wash over him. For the first time, he truly realized that people don't need to be the same in order to be valuable. Everyone has something special. But being naturally curious, he immediately asked his father about the second lesson. For the second lesson, he said thoughtfully, I want you to observe Matt closely at school tomorrow. Pay attention to how often he works with numbers or solves math problems. The next day, David went to school with excitement, eager to complete the challenge. Throughout the entire day, he quietly watched Matt. How he counted, calculated, and engaged in anything related to numbers. After school, David spent some time playing soccer again until his father came home. That evening, he approached him with enthusiasm. Dad, Matt was counting a lot today. He was solving math problems, doing puzzles, calculating change during recess. He even counted the petals on a flower. His father smiled warmly. That's exactly the second lesson, David. Matt is good at math because he enjoys it and he practices it over and over again. If you want to get better at something, you must keep practicing, just like you practice soccer almost every day. He continued, it doesn't always have to be difficult. You can start small, even with simple things like counting petals on a flower. David nodded with a bright smile, realizing that improvement in any skill is possible with consistent practice, just like his journey with soccer. And without wasting a moment, he eagerly asked about the third and final lesson. His father paused for a moment, thinking carefully, and then said, for the final lesson, I want you to think honestly about how much better Matt is at math compared to you. David stopped to consider this. After a short hesitation, he replied, I think Matt is probably 3 times better at math than I am. All right, his father said with a gentle nod. Then your last challenge is this. Tomorrow, I want you to study math 3 times harder than you normally do. David swallowed nervously, but nodded with determination. He didn't want to disappoint his father, and he was ready to give the challenge his best effort. The next day after school, David sat down at his study table, took a deep breath, and began working through his math book. After 1 full hour of intense concentration, he pushed himself further and decided to continue studying for 2 more hours, tripling the effort he usually put in. But before he could finish, a dull ache began to spread across his forehead. His eyes grew heavy, and without even realizing it, he slowly drifted off to sleep right there at his desk. Later, he felt a gentle tap on his shoulder as his father woke him softly. Wake up, David, dinner is ready, and meet me in the garden afterwards, his father said kindly. Feeling disappointed and defeated, David walked out to the garden with his head hung low. I'm sorry, Dad. I couldn't finish the challenge. I studied so much that my head started hurting, and then I just fell asleep. His father placed a comforting hand on his head and said, David, this is exactly what happens when you try to master something you don't truly enjoy. Staying disciplined and consistent becomes incredibly hard. But when you love something, really love it, discipline feels lighter and consistency becomes natural. That's why you stay so dedicated to soccer. After a short moment of silence, his father finally shared the last piece of wisdom. So David, if you truly want to become smart or become an expert at something, then remember this. Either study what you love or learn to love what you are studying. David looked at his father with deep admiration. His heart felt lighter and his mind clearer than before. He promised himself and his father that he would carry these 3 valuable lessons with him for the rest of his life. And that brings us to the end of today's story. Through this journey, we learned new English words and useful sentences. Remember, learning English doesn't have to be boring. It becomes enjoyable when you practice regularly, stay curious, and listen to stories like this. So keep listening, keep learning, and keep growing every day. And that brings us to the end of today's story. We hope you learned something valuable, not only about English, but also about life, passion, and the power of consistent practice. Remember, learning English becomes easier and more enjoyable when you practice every day. Stay curious and listen to stories like this. If you enjoyed today's lesson, don't forget to like the video, comment your favorite part, subscribe to English Story Learning Hub for more inspiring stories. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll meet again in the next video where we continue learning English through beautiful stories.